Watching Worldview 2, a Brannon House television network.
The Tamara Scott Show. Tamara has served as the state director for one of America's largest pro-life, pro-family public policy organizations. In 2007, Tamara was named one of America's top 10 most influential kingmakers by the Religion News Association. Tamara has spent years proclaiming and defending the values of a Christian worldview that is the foundation of our constitutional republic. And now, here is your host, Tamara Scott.
We know you're in X car with this license plate from Florida. If you don't leave within an hour, you're dead. That is insane. That is not only terrorism, but it's showcasing that they have access to license plate identification. They have access to people's cell phones. They have operatives within the police departments or the state government that are providing them with this private secure data. And that shows that this is a top-down insurgency operation. And we saw yesterday, it was all over X, some great accounts, 0 Hour and Cam Higbee showed the signal chats, right? And so you've got 1,000 people in these chats every day. They have organized emojis to mean certain symbols. They have protocols, they have training manuals, and then they also have financing documents. And there was a great tweet from, I think, Data Republican showing that there's actually foreign funding from Canada, a guy named Unchuffed, his organization in Canada. So this has foreign funding. This has state level involvement. The lieutenant governor was found in there. Multiple state representatives and city councilors were found in those signal chats. That is sedition, Steve. If this stuff is leading to violence, to people's deaths, that's insurrection, that's sedition, that's felony murder, that's conspiracy. There is a whole host of charges that members of Tim Walz's staff and campaign staff are involved with. And it is no surprise that they're doing this once their fraud machine was found. It's a pure diversion play, and President Trump has to stay on the offense and take this down, because if he doesn't, and I think he will, but if he doesn't, it will spread to other cities.
All right. That was from a Bannon clip, and I think it was One America's Voice that may have played that, or Real News Now. I'm not sure which one, but interesting and fits into what we're going to talk to. I'm Tamara Scott. This is the Tamara Scott Show. Thank you for joining us on the Tamara Scott Show, where we help you live God's Word in today's world when the headlines hit home. And we also try to keep you grounded in the plan and the purpose that God has for you. We try to be aware of what's happening so we know better how to pray, better how to respond, but we try not to get caught up in it so we don't get lost in it. And so today we have Amber Arrowwood coming back. We had her on Monday for just a brief time, and I knew then we should have given her more time. Bless her heart, she's coming back to finish that conversation on funding. Where is the funding coming for the organization, for some of these riots, the anti-ICE riots, some of these riots in her community? Remember, North Carolina went through it last year, but with the terrible storms. But then what we're seeing in Minnesota, and we played that video because obviously they think there's some funding going on. They're talking about signal groups with high-level elected officials being involved. He says that's seditious. That's Rogan O'Handley that's saying that. That'd be sedition, conspiracy, felony homicide, all kinds of charges there that he says could be an issue if indeed elected officials. Now, I'm curious about that, because being just part of the group, I don't know, but interesting. And when he talks about the organization having up to date ability to read license plates, government top-down data, very interesting. And it might fit in with our conversation with Amber Arrowwood. Also, Representative Pam Altendorf from Minnesota is joining us. We'll be talking about all things Minnesota with her, as well as touching back on her video in January of the Satanist plaque in the State House honoring Governor Walz. Ew. Ew. We'll talk to her. First, welcome Amber Arrowwood. Amber, thank you for coming back to the Tamara Scott Show.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Tell our viewers how they can follow you, how they find you, and how do they follow you?
I have Amber's TikTok on TikTok, and then I have Amber Arrowwood with 1W on Facebook.
I'm so glad you say that because I had 2 in my book, which I thought was awesome. If you ever put your name, first name, and then your last name, it would be 2 A's, 2 R's, 2 W's, 2 O's. I thought that was pretty impressive. So I think you should change your last name and put that W back in there. All right. So let's go forward. You were so kind to talk to us on Monday. I got comments back from our readers. They appreciated for viewers, they appreciated the information. All right. Where do you want, you might want to give us a recap today and start us off, Amber.
Okay, basically, I have uncovered in my local city who's putting together the protest and how they're doing it, and how they may be getting paid. I'd also like to add that watching that video that you just had playing, I actually just got in touch with Data Republican today, because the organization that I'm going to be talking to you guys about is doing the exact same things that he was discussing in that video, and they are actively involved with a lot of the people on that list that he has just come out with. But if you want to go ahead and pull up slide 1.
So you're saying is that Data Republican, that's not necessarily a Republican group? You're saying that's one of those groups working anti-ICE resistance, helping organize, helping get information, and you're saying there are a lot of those folks he just mentioned, they are involved indeed in these groups?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Take us through your stuff.
Okay, so the first picture needs to be put up, number 1. This is basically, and I'm asking everyone that's watching to do this for yourselves. Google whether or not 501c3 nonprofits and churches can legally pay people to protest, including not just advocating, but the travel expenses and putting these events together, because you will see that it is absolutely legal for 501c3s and charities to do that. If you want to move on to number 2, we'll start getting a little bit more into it. Now, this is kind of just the overview of CIMA and the flyer that came out from them with regards to a hotline my community members could call in the event they thought they saw ICE out in our local communities. Specifically stating in the headline that they have verifier groups that will go out and verify whether or not that's what you're seeing. Now, it kind of goes into mentioning that if you are undocumented, that they can help you in those circumstances. I'm not sure exactly what they mean by that. But this group is, it's something that's rather large here in this community, unfortunately, and it is very widespread and has connections to everywhere. So if you want to move on to clip number 3, you can.
Hold on, before we do, this is photo number 2. And so you've got the photo, if you can put that photo back up on our screen, Thomas. And when you say our community, are you saying your community in North Carolina? Are you saying in Minnesota? Where is this?
Okay, I'm sorry. My community, I live in Asheville, North Carolina. However, it will link to other cities. We'll get to that point in a little bit. But this is the flyer that they put out to my community members.
All right. I'm just going to say this. I'm just curious. If somebody saw those numbers, 888-839-2839 or 828-269-4037, what would stop someone who actually appreciates ICE, who upholds the Constitution and our law enforcement? What would stop others from calling that number and giving them wrong locations, like Democrats do to Republicans when there's going to be an event and they try to take up tickets, hoping no one will show then. So if people started calling and confusing them, I wonder what would happen then. I'm just
already happening.
It is already happening. And people are giving them the wrong locations.
Absolutely. In fact, so much so that they actually have it listed on their book of faces. They are no longer answering the phone. Yeah, so that is actually happening. It is.
I mean, I wasn't suggesting it. I'm just saying, I wonder what would happen if. Well, okay, now we know it happens. All right, very good. Next photo.
Number 3. is who this organization is, or any information really that I could find with regards to who they were. They do not have a website that is up and running conveniently. I could not find any tax documentation for that nonprofit organization. I couldn't even find who the founders were or who the board members were. Looking into it as hard as I possibly could, I could only come up with 2 names associated with that organization. And it was from interviews that they had done in like papers or something, where one who is listed as being an organizer for the organization had incidents with ICE in the past. However, she states that she is a legal citizen. The other member that's mentioned in that article, however, openly admitted to being an undocumented employee or member of that organization. Then we found that they were fiscally supported and members of a different organization, which is clip number 4. I can't pronounce the name of it, I'm going to be honest, so I'm going to call it CLM. So essentially, the best way that I can kind of describe what this is the original CIMA group that put out that flyer is, I guess, subcontracted through the other organization, which is a legitimate 50C31, or 501c3, I'm sorry. So it's kind of like an umbrella to the CIMA organization. So CIMA can go out, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So for our viewers, it's the Collaborative of La Milpa. So Collaborative of La Milpa is what that looks like to me. LAMILPA, Collaborativa with the little Hispanic A at the end instead of a V-E. La Milpa in Asheville, North Carolina. This is the group you're saying. They're reporting over 1.9 million in revenue in 2022, over 2 million in 2021. And they supposedly focus on Latino immigrants with basic needs, funded through grants from philanthropic organizations, including Community Foundation of Western North Carolina and Dogwood. I thought Dogwood Health was one of those we trusted during the hurricane to help.
In just a few more slides, you're going to hear a lot of names that you're not going to think would be associated.
Okay, take us further. For our viewers, those listening who may not see the videos, like in a podcast or something, I just want to make sure they're getting the info. So there you go. All right. Next.
Okay, number 5. This is basically showing you that even though they are not their actual own 501c3 and that they're just kind of covered by a 501c3, it is still legally okay for them to pay employees to protest, essentially, or to do that sort of work, even though they're not
legal. You're saying it is legal. It's okay.
Yes, to a certain extent. To a certain extent, they do have restrictions. Obviously, it depends on their identity that's given to them by the IRS. That specifically means that it needs to be an organization. All of the organizations that we're speaking about today are minority-based organizations, LGBTQ, grassroots, things like that, that work with community members. Those and churches alike, which we will talk a little bit about today as well, all are legally allowed to pay protesters. But if the protesters cross any lines, like interfering with law enforcement or inciting civil unrest, then the organization paying them can get shut down. However, that's where we start to move into the next portion of this, because they have found a lot of loopholes.
All right, take us further.
Okay, number 6. On number 6, this is a flyer that was put out by UUA or UUC Church. It just depends on the day of what they're calling themselves, for a resistance training type class, essentially, that they put together. Now, I looked up who this church was because even though I live here, I had not heard of them before. And their name is Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Asheville. So here we have this church. If you want to move to number 8 really quickly. Okay, so this is proof that Firestorm Bookstore, which is a self-proclaimed radical anarchist socialist cooperative here in Asheville, they are also putting out resistance training classes as well. So if you want to go ahead and move really quickly to, I'm so sorry,
I'm
number
going to have you
10,
hold right
actually.
there. We're going to hold right here before we jump into this interesting photo
Okay.
because we need to go to break. We'll be right back with Amber Arrowwood. We're talking about where all of this funding and organization may be coming for these anti-ICE raids. Stay tuned.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home, went to bed.
I need to tell you about our Bella Grace. This slender little sachet has the elixir with the collagen, astaxanthin, and cat's claw. In 2022, got an award for helping with cognitive function, and in 2023, in the sports arena for active ingredients, nutrition, and format. But the best is what we hear from so many of you. You have noticed better joint health, improved mobility, less eye strain and fatigue, helping with computer vision syndrome, visual acuity, depth perception, alleviating dry eyes, but also helping with your immunity, your stress management, endurance, less fatigue overall, not just eye fatigue, muscle recovery, mental clarity, focus, and gut health. Then there's the fun list. The firmer, smoother skin texture, fewer fine lines and wrinkles, improved skin elasticity, decreased age spots, more even skin tone, improved skin hydration, reduced oxidative stress, healthier nails, less cellulite, hair health, better sleep. Who wouldn't want any of those? Call them beauty items if you wish, but who doesn't want to feel a little bit better or more confident when you're going to present in the public square, when you're going to speak at a city council? And who just doesn't want to feel a little healthier? Maybe they're just byproducts of being healthier. More information at tamara.bellagraceglobal.com, tamara.bellagraceglobal.com. Amber Arrowwood is my guest today. I'm pleased to have her back. She is taking us through the evidence, the screens of where funding may be, what groups may be affiliated or behind some of these anti-ICE protests. Go ahead, Amber. Great information.
Thank you. The next clip I want to show is number 10. This is a woman who put out an Instagram video advertising the fact that she was going to be coming into this radical anarchist. It's a small business cooperative, but they are like the headquarters for this radical organization. She is talking about how she is essentially a professional protester who got her start during the Ferguson uprise. And she is going into Firestorm Bookstore on that particular day to be a part of and to speak at their strategic resistance lesson that they are giving that day. In this video, she specifically mentions unplugging from the cloud and asking your neighbors to turn their cameras off or possibly even take them down. They talk a lot about these resistance or in these resistance lessons to conceal your identity, wear a face mask, maybe don't use your real name, things like that. The reason that this is growing concern for us within our local community, this particular organization actually is very proud of the fact that they have a lot of big speakers that come in sometimes. And one of the speakers that they've actually had in the past is William Ayers. And he actually founded or co-founded Weather Underground, who literally took credit for 25 bombings in this country, including the U.S. Capitol building, the Pentagon, U.S. State Department of headquarters, 25 in the 60s and 70s. They actively bring more radical people in because they are a more extremist radical anarchist group. So that's very important to note with regards to the fact that they are putting these resistance classes together along with a church And then coupling that with the CIMA group that is putting together these hotlines, they are all actively working together. Now, unofficially, because I cannot prove this at all, I was sent some pictures of supposed meetings between them where they conceal their identity even in the private meetings with each other. So they don't even know exactly who I guess they're speaking with at these private meetings. Again, that's unverified though. But it just kind of adds into how a lot of this is very grimy and under the table type stuff that's going on. But if you want to move to number 9 really quickly. Number 9 is a photo of a news clip from the previous kind of riots, I guess you could say, that we had here in my local city back in BLM and defund the cops, where this particular reporter actually got video footage of them shipping people in by buses. And this goes back to where it is actually legal for them to pay for the travel of protesters going around to different cities. Now, another thing that they teach in these strategic resistance lessons is that it's hard to get caught if they don't know who you are. And if you can travel to another city or have another city's chapter, because they are all connected, unfortunately, come to your city to kind of incite the more violent aspects of things, then they're less likely to get caught. And when they're arrested, again, they go into jail, they bond out. Nobody's looking at their financial records to see if they're on the payroll somewhere for doing this, but they are. And it's not the vast majority of protesters. I would even guess to say that the vast majority of protesters don't know that they could actually be getting paid. However, when you're sitting here listening to the speeches, they are always telling you to get organized and join an organization, and there's a reason for that. It's a very complex but very organized system, okay? With regards to what's going on in my local city and what's going on in this country. All of this is being put together on the surface level with 501c3s, nonprofits, and progressive churches. They are all connected to each other. And we will see a viral video come out of Minneapolis, and it will call for an emergency walkout protest. And then within 24 hours, every city in this country has a walkout protest at the exact same time. That's what we saw just a few days ago, actually. And that came out of Minnesota through a viral YouTube video throughout these organizations. So everyone's kind of looking at politicians and trying to figure out, well, which politicians are doing this? And it's literally like on the surface level, it is 501c3s across the board that are actually doing this. And that money is being funneled in from the politicians and the famous people, the private donors. And a lot of it is coming in from people like you who have no idea what your money's going to when you're donating to these charities. But if you want to go ahead and move to, which is it, number 11? So this slide, and I believe the next one as well, are all kind of just showing you the laundry list of organizations that are directly associated with that CIMA group that we are currently dealing with here in Asheville that's kind of behind all of this. And again, 2 of the slides that were already shown were showing you how that UUC Church and that Firestorm Radical group were both setting up the protest here, and we're directly connected to CIMA as well. This laundry list is long, you guys. We've got FEMA, Mana Food Bank, NC Medical Society, just to name a few. We found members that work at our local registry of deeds. We found people on our Asheville City Council that were in support of this group. The guy that's actually running to be district attorney in our next round is actively involved with this group. Asheville City Schools, which you could move to 13 for that one. Asheville City Schools happens to be the only school in my immediate area that participated in that walkout. And we came to find out a day or so later that Asheville City Schools is directly supporting CIMA as well. So what we have here is this organization that's not even a real organization themselves per se. They don't have a 501c3. They are covered underneath another 501c3 And that 501c3 is handling the money that comes down from wherever it's coming from. There are a lot of grants that are being given. I mean, you've already kind of went over how much this organization in particular has kind of had in their past tax documents, and I will be interested to see this year's as well. But every organization that is grassroots based, minority based, progressive based, all of them here support CIMA. And if you go and look at their book of faces, I have to say that because of TikTok. If you go and check out their profile there and you kind of just scroll down through, you will see where they are actively talking about how they are in contact with their member organization over in Minneapolis and down in Florida. They have one that they are in direct contact with in Charlotte that has a hotline set up. So all of this is actually very real and very well organized with a lot of little dirty loopholes in it. Like, yes, it's legal that you can pay your people to go out and do this. However, they can't cross any lines. And then they start holding these strategic resistance lessons to teach you how you can cross those lines and not get caught doing it, so that the organizations don't get shut down. But we are literally looking at a radical anarchist socialist cooperative working with a church, working with a nonprofit organization. And all of them are working with people all over the country. It's very, very scary, you guys, how they have this set up. And this is something that's definitely been going on for quite some time, for sure. For sure. But
Amber,
they're really bold about it. Yes.
thank you so much for bringing us this information. And when you say they're strategic, they're loopholes in teaching their activists or protesters how or what they can do right up to the line without crossing the line of being in trouble. We've seen the videos. I don't have it in front of me. I wish I did, of one of the churches where they were teaching members how to videotape, or when ICE came and got close to them or might be arresting them, how to behave, how to act to get the best video filming out of that. So it's not a stretch to believe what you're saying about them teaching strategy on how to go right up to the line without crossing the line of illegality. This is so tragically sad that our churches are being misused in this way. Absolutely not what the churches were intended to do in giving people the freedom in Christ, which means upholding law and obeying government when government is moral, and certainly protecting this country is moral. We just talked earlier this week about Iowan Sarah Root, killed almost 10 years ago to the day, January 31st, 2016, and just this week, just I think 2 days ago, her parents finally had not even the closure, but the ability to move forward, because that criminal, illegal alien, escaped back to his country. No harm. But thankfully, Donald Trump brought him back for trial. And certainly, is 20-year sentence, maybe a 10-year actual service of sentence enough? That's hard for a family to say, but at least they got a sentencing on him. And so when we're talking about the lives of children, the lives that are children missing, the lives of children that have been trafficked across this border, the families that have lost loved ones in car accidents, in rapes and murders and other things, that's not compassionate when you're protecting individuals who are promoting or protecting those individuals. That's not compassion. So, Amber, anything in parting for our viewers?
The only thing left that I would like to say is just keep in mind that this is going through a lot of different organizations, and that a lot of what you're hearing actually is true. Even we just kind of uncovered yesterday that they are, in fact, even paying paid actors in some of the bigger cities like Los Angeles. And I won't get into that very much, but if you check out my Facebook, Amber Arrowwood with 1W, I have everything for you guys to see. I put all the documents out there.
Thank you, Amber, so much. Appreciate it. You'll follow her on TikTok as well if you're on TikTok. We appreciate your research on this. And if folks, you might want to figure out a little bit in your area, figure out who's connected to who. And Amber might be able to even give you some tips on doing that. Amber Arrow, we so appreciate you coming on the show with us at Tamara Scott Show. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We're right back with Representative Pam Altendorf in Minnesota. Stay tuned. This is our new NutraSwish, Numi NutraSwish. You can find more information at neumi.com/TTSS. neumi.com/TTSS, one of the products we offer because you all have different preferences and respond differently to different items. So this is our lavender. It's for ladies anywhere along your journey. No hormones in it, but if you're taking a supplement of hormonal supplement, you might want to check with your doctor. The blue is for anyone over the age of 18. It has the glutathione, which is a antioxidant, helps with over 400 cellular functions, and it helps detox heavy metals, forever chemicals, graphene oxide, one of those terms we learned after 2020, and it helps detox glyphosate. The good glutathione helps detox glyphosate. Glyphosate is found in ag chemicals or lawn chemicals, and some are very concerned about possible links to cancers, HPVs, and diabetes. But the blue bottle, the glutathione, helps detox heavy metals, forever chemicals, graphene oxide, and glyphosate. Then there's the mango-colored bottle you see on your screen. Numi Neuro helps with your mind, your memory, and your focus. Now, again, after 2020, we heard something about brain fog, a term we'd not heard before. Whether it's from a virus or a vaccine, many have found relief, a little help, with Numi Neuro, the mango-colored bottle. When used with the blue bottle, it is so positive that the American Brain Council wrote about it and it looked like an endorsement. Though we're told they don't write endorsements, it was simply a positive review of what they saw. You can find more information at Numi, neumi.com/TTSS, neumi.com/TTSS for the Tamara Scott Show. Why? Because we want you feeling your best. And when you use that TTSS link, you help us be our best.
This is Representative Pam Altendorf coming live at you from the Minnesota State Capitol. I am on the ground floor, and as I was leaving my committee meeting today here earlier, I noticed that there is a new display here at the State Capitol, and it's for Governor Walz. It's right here on display. So let me see. I mean, I guess I can't flip my phone, but I'll see if I can show it to you. This is what we have here, everyone. Let me read it to you. The Democratic Coalition of Satan Worshippers thanks Governor Tim Walz for not standing in the way of spreading Satanism in the State Capitol building. Satan has a special place for you. That's right, everyone. So the Democratic Coalition of Satan Worshippers, they have given some sort of plaque here to Governor Tim Walz. So let me be the first, I guess, to congratulate Governor Tim Walz for this very special award that has come from the Satan worshippers here in the Minnesota State Capitol. Yes, everyone, this is true. I am live, not making this up. You can't make this up. I don't know what else to say. I would think if you're Governor Tim Walz, you could choose not to have up this plaque. I don't know why a governor of a state would want this plaque, but there it is. Let me show you. Here we are, live at the State Capitol, and the Satan worshipers have thanked Governor Tim Walz And let me repeat this. The last line says, Satan has a special place for you. I'm speechless.
Wow. Wow. Representative Pam Altendorf is kind enough to join us today, but thank you, Thomas, for zooming in on that plaque so we could see it so clearly at the end of that video. I appreciate that. Representative Altendorf, Minnesota, thanks for joining us on the Tamara Scott Show.
Thank you for having me, Tamara. I really appreciate the invitation.
I mean, you know, I'm in fairly close contact with some of your other legislators and some of you in Minnesota, good friends in Minnesota, family in Minnesota. And yet, you know, we keep thinking we're not going to be surprised. Nothing would surprise us, but it does. But it does. So what date was that? How long ago was that plaque put in your state house?
So the background on that, it was April 2nd, I believe, was the day that I did that video. And just to give you the background, so right before Christmas in 2024 in December, the public, they can put up a display, and it'll be a 3-week display. So they had put up a more elaborate display in December, and it was from the Satan worshiping group. And of course, a lot of people were upset. Christians were upset. People said to take it down. And how we responded to that, I thought it was great. But we were led by some pastors in a prayer vigil right there in the Capitol. And it also taught us that if you leave a void as Christians, if we're not talking about our faith and we're not putting it on display, things fill that void. And at this point, it was that satanic statue. Now that was right before Christmas, and then right before Easter is when they did that plaque. So obviously hitting the two big Christian holidays. And the plaque was just thanking Governor Walz for allowing them to put up that other display in December. Now, my point, I'm watching the video and I know it's hard not to laugh. I was trying to make a mockery of it, but I was in a committee meeting and I heard that there was this plaque and I just thought, absolutely no way. I was supposed to go into another meeting and I'm like, I'm just gonna run down in the bottom floor here real quick, check this out. And sure enough, it was there. And I did the video really quick, impromptu, but could not believe it was there. But again, if I was Governor Walz and I was a governor, I'm pretty sure, even though there's free speech, I would say, I'm not going to allow this to be displayed because I don't want to be attached to this group.
Absolutely, and I'm thinking about this. So, for those watching, the satanic plaque is not new. Is it still there today, February 4th, 2026?
Oh, that's one of the misconceptions. So again, it was the public can anyone can apply, so if you're whatever, in some group you can apply, you put up a display for 3 weeks, it goes up, it comes down. So both of them, the one that was put before Christmas was a 3-week display, and then the one, this plaque was a 3-week display. So it is not up in the Capitol.
So this would have been April 2025.
Correct.
All right. And to our viewers, I have warned you, we have done shows on the Satanists asking for statues, displays at Christmas time, the most holy time of the year for Christians, not Atheist Day, not April Fool's Day, not Halloween, which is often associated with Satanists. No, they are trying to infiltrate and disturb the Christian holiday. And we have them in articles in the state of Kansas, where they said, if the Catholics won't do their pro-life event, we won't ask for equal time. So all they're wanting to do is silence the Christian voice. That's what they're wanting. And it worked in Iowa. Let me say this. It worked in Iowa because we had a DAS director, a Department of Administrative Services under Governor Reynolds, who was fairly green and is still fairly green. He's no longer there because he's now running for governor. And I haven't been so brave to say that before, but I will because he's never come back and apologized for this error. He's running for governor instead of saying, I messed up. He's saying, taking credit for not allowing that statue again in 2024, which it was on the calendar. I don't think things make it on the calendar unless they've been approved. He says it was there, but he hadn't approved it. I think it was approved. I think legislators got to him and said, do you understand what you're doing? Do you understand the danger? As well, another candidate for governor, Representative Brad Sherman, wrote articles on that in 2023. And he was the only one who talked about it constitutionally, historically, biblically, why it should have never been allowed. He was absolutely right. It should have never been allowed. It didn't have to be allowed under free speech, under the First Amendment, under freedom of religion. It did not have to be allowed. And so that's why I'm telling you, you need to be aware of this. I am neutral in the race for governor. I have to be because of my other hats. But I have always said I will raise questions where I have them and I will give praise where it is due. And I have questions yet over the handling of that. It was so incorrect and error, and I've never seen an apology or someone handle it appropriately. I've only seen a hardness of heart and stiff-necked attitude on it. And then Brad Sherman handled it so well. So there's praise due there. So let me come back to you, Representative. Thank you for letting me take that little escapade out. But this is not isolated. I want people to know this is not isolated. A display one year, a plaque the next. This is not going to stop. I believe Milwaukee, I believe Wisconsin, I believe New Hampshire, Kansas, Iowa, other capitals where they are trying to make a presence known. And to your point, where we leave a void, Satan will fill it.
And Tamara, on that note, so after December, again, a group of Christians, they committed to, they were going to put up a display before Easter. So outside, and I should have sent you a picture of it, but outside they put up a large display. It was a large cross, and then there was this fairly large 10 Commandments plaque in front of the cross. And again, so this is right before Easter, and they took it down. They smashed it. I mean, it was in pieces, and they stole the 10 Commandments plaque and ran away with it. I do think someone was charged with that because it was on the Capitol grounds, so there was cameras. If I remember correctly, I believe someone was charged. But I mean, just look at that contrast. The satanic plaque was up for 3 weeks. The other satanic display was up for 3 weeks. And again, we didn't like it. No one liked it, but we didn't destroy it. And then when we, put up a Christian display, a cross, and the 10 Commandments, I mean, it was broken and shattered in pieces. So the freedom just goes one way, apparently. It's just them.
Yes. We see that tolerance is a one-way street with the left, with the LGBTQ, and evidently with this group. And I'm glad you brought that up because in Iowa, it used to be 2 weeks we could display, which frankly, I think the nativity ought to be up from Advent to Epiphany. I just do. But we were allowed 2 weeks until this DAS director decided his correction was overcorrection, and he changed the rules midway through the year so that no one could have a display longer than 24 hours. The nativity is here in my studio. I set it up. I have to have a truck to do it. It is not easy. And now I'm only allowed 1 day. And so we weren't going to get it up 2024. And because of their rules, and because if you participate in any other event, which I'm politically active, members of our group are politically active. If they do any other event, then they're not allowed to do the nativity. So we waited until this year, and we did it on Day of Epiphany just to get it back in there, to keep that boundary stone, to keep that stake in the ground, that the nativity and our Christian foundation should be honored without question in our public buildings. So we did get that there. So I'm glad you reminded us of that. You guys have 3 weeks. South Dakota, we all ought to take a lesson from. I think all season long, they have now over 100 trees and nativities because a governor 20 years ago did not like when somebody said, you can't do that. He said, watch me. And it's grown to that point. You can search as a Capitol, Christmas at the Capitol in South Dakota. Amazing. Oh, and they have an empty quarter for the atheist who don't believe anything. That's what I'm told. All right, so I didn't know we were going to take this much time on it, but Pam, this is great information. Excuse me, Representative, sorry about that. This is great information for us to have, and this is your warning, the watchman on the wall, each of you, for all of your capitals, you had better be protecting your turf, and we are a Judeo-Christian nation. You better make sure that yours are not in any way prohibited or inhibited by the rule changes as we had in Iowa, terrible as they are. They're still there. The DAS director's
we're definitely in a spiritual war. I mean, this is definitely a spiritual war, and we have to recognize that and then rise up to the occasion. And again, I mean, our country was built on freedom of speech and all of these things, which we do honor. But this is absolutely unacceptable. It cannot continue to just go one way, and Christians stand idly by when they're, persecuted. I'm also sure you saw recently the protesters that came into the Christian church in Minneapolis, St. Paul
Yes, so
area.
hold on. I need to go to break, so hang on to that, and we'll come back, and I will do. I'm so glad you brought that up. We will talk about that right after this break. Representative Pam Altendorf will get to the protesters in the church. Stay tuned.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
And you can go to worldviewtube.com/vault. worldviewtube.com/vault. With a reasonable subscription fee, you have access to all of our shows, not just ours, but Brandon's incredible library of all of his work and every show on the network. Returning to Representative Pam Altendorf from Minnesota. Pam, I am so glad you brought up the protesters in the church in Minnesota. Take us through that.
I mean, here in Minnesota, Minneapolis, everyone's seeing all around the country everything that's been happening with the riots and protesting ICE. But these protesters just took it to a whole nother level when they went into a Christian church, interrupted the church, interrupted right during worshiping time. It was said that they were actually, yelling at children, blocking stairways. And so again, we have to realize, it's okay for us to stand up for ourselves. Of course, we like to be, peaceful people, and I think they're taking advantage of our kindness and our compassion. And we have people that don't think the same of us. They're not treating us in the same respect. They don't respect our religion. And at some point, we have to be very brave and say enough, that we're going to stand up for ourselves.
I totally agree. I will say this. My hat's off to that pastor and to every congregation member. They didn't take the bait. These folks were trying to bait them into hitting them, saying something that they could get on camera, and that body did not take the bait. My hat's off to them on that. Here's what I don't think I've said on camera, but here's what I said when it happened. I saw pipes, beautiful pipes in that. My thing is every church, I want to find a church that has those pipes and the stained glass windows and still teaches the glory of God, right? The churches that have those often don't. The churches that don't have those have the music, blah, blah, blah. But when I saw those pipes, having a daughter who is a pipe organ major and plays for church services across the Midwest, I said, oh my goodness, they could have opened up those pipes, sang a hymn to the glory of God, what a fortress we have, any of those. And if the organist knew what they were doing, they could have rumbled those pipes, the floorboards would have shook, the rafters would have trembled, and those people would have heard the glory of God, some of them for the first time, and who knows what might have happened. It would have been phenomenal, but it certainly would have drowned out anything they had to say and replaced it with the glory of God and truth. So that was my thought when I heard that. But thank you for bringing that to us, right? More churches ought to do that. And we don't have the power. We have the power. We don't practice the power. Whether it's in the organ or in the Holy Spirit, we need to stand. We've been made more than conquerors through the blood of Jesus Christ. And it's time, while we act in love and we speak kindly, have clean hearts and clear minds, We need to be ready, as you're right. This is a spiritual battle, and we need to be ready to go to task because not everybody feels like we do. Parting words for our audience.
Just pray for Minnesota. Obviously, we have a lot of tension going on here, and a lot of it could be avoided with better leadership. Our governor is avoiding the fraud, right? It's all about the fraud, and this is a distraction. And so I just want everyone to pray for Minnesota and know that we have a lot of good people that are fighting hard, and with the help of Minnesota media and people like you, Tamara, we will get the truth out. And I always say that to people: seek truth, seek discernment. We are just in such a time where people get into their silos of belief, and maybe you're not in the right silo. So you need to really be looking at all things and use that God-given discernment.
And we hope more will come out. I just played a video before you came on at the beginning of the show today. It was from the Bannon War Room, but it had Rogan O'Hanley talking about the signal groups that apparently have some high-level officials from the state of Minnesota involved in those signal groups that may very well be a part of some of this. And if that's the case, it could be sedition, it could be felony homicide, it could be a conspiracy, it could be a whole host of things leveled at them. And I know you've got more coming too on other, I don't know if it's another topic or not, but when you're next.
We're doing breaking news like daily in Minnesota. I used to say we used to have a national news story a month, and then it was like, okay, every week we are, and now it's definitely like daily. But like I said, there's more news to come, and there's going to be a lot more to be exposed. I do think this is a year of revelation that and we maybe didn't want this, but this is revealing a lot of evil and a lot of corruption. So just remember, as we walk through these days, I'm not promising it's going to be easy, but I do think it's necessary. We have to go through the revealing period of the evil to get to the other side and be able to fix it.
Thank you so much to our viewers. You've heard her heart. Representative Pam Altendorf, keep her in your prayers. Keep the legislators in your prayers. And I've prayed this since 2006. Truth be revealed, falsehoods be exposed, and those who have ill gain or ill motive be made known so that we can have justice in this nation. I don't care what side of the aisle. I am brave enough to pray that across both sides of the aisle. I pray that for our churches, our pulpits, our politicians, our professors, our press. It's time for deeds done in darkness to be exposed. Representative, thank you so much for taking time out for us. Bless you in the work that you do. May the Lord protect you and your family, guide and direct you.
Thank you so much. God bless you too.
Yep. To everybody, we tell you, live boldly, love better, laugh bigger, be encouraged, and never be complacent.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcast.